My name is Dylan, but you can call me Buttercup. Welcome to Buttercup Yarn Art, a soft-spoken video journal where I play with yarn and share my thoughts. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you'd like to see more, please subscribe. If there's anything you'd like to hear me talk about, please leave a comment to let me know. I am still working on the Gigi Cardi from Knititude. I am almost finished with the first sleeve. I am literally a few stitches away from starting the bind off on the first sleeve, which I personally find exciting. And then I can start on the second sleeve and then finish the body. I am really enjoying this sweater so far. It's been really fun to make, and I am really looking forward to having it to wear. But that's not the pattern that you're seeing right now. That's not the piece that's on your screen. This is my Quiet Bay shawl. I was saying last week that because the pattern released this past Tuesday, I might show it off in this week's video, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is this knit along, this shawl, and kind of show you where the various clues started and ended, approximately, and you know how I feel about how mine came out, and then that will lead into my second topic for today. So I'm going to go clue by clue from the bottom up, because this is a bottom up shawl with short row shaping. Is the construction. So clue 1 is this bottom section of the border and the bind off, the cast on, I'm sorry. So you cast on all the stitches down here along this edge, and then work this first section. In mine it's red because that's the color I chose. I actually, when I got to the end of this first clue, I thought to myself, oh, I should have used the purple as my main color and the black as my second contrast color. But I wasn't about to recast on all of the stitches, so I kept it as it was. So that was the first clue. The second clue was very similar to the first clue, just with the other contrast color. And it was this second section of the border down here. And at first, a lot of us in the forums, myself included, were kind of under the impression from these first two clues that the rows were just going to get shorter and shorter and shorter until the end. But we were fooled. We were wrong. Because clue 3 worked along one side of the border into this little well here at the point and started filling up from here using Japanese short rows, which I had to learn for this pattern, but I'm really glad I did because I actually wound up liking them quite a bit. So for stockinette sweaters with short row shaping in the future, that's probably what I'll be using to do the short rows, because I liked it. So the the third clue, once we got here to this little point, came up. I'm not 100% sure where the border between clue 3 and clue 4 was. But clue 3 started filling up this middle section here with all these lovely mosaic color work sections, these lovely little pops of color as Morgan is grabbing a snack. You know, and the various motifs throughout the pattern. You know, just kind of getting a bit more complex, and then sections of simplicity color-wise. You know, little bits of lace, some garter stitch for texture, and then this was most of Clue 4, this section here, and it is a little bit tricky, not tricky as in difficult, but tricky as in you kind of have to let your fingers get into the rhythm of it and get used to how this section feels to work. At the beginning of this section here, I was definitely a little frustrated with how it felt. My fingers just were not used to this kind of consistent all over slip stitch color work, and once they settled in to it, it got a lot easier, and I got into a rhythm, and it went really, really well. After about 8 or so rows was when I would say the rhythm really got, like, worked itself into my fingers, and it got more pleasant and less frustrating. There were other people who did modify this section, taking some of the other motifs from the color work in other sections, just, you know, to kind of break it up because it just wasn't working for them. And I think that's really great. You know, I think any modifications you need to make to a pattern to make it more comfortable for you to work, to make it more enjoyable, I think you absolutely should. Every time. Just if you need to modify it to make it enjoyable or even possible for you to do it. 100%, in my opinion. So, you know, this was the bulk of Clue 4, pretty much, was this. I think it came out really nicely, personally. And I really like how it came out for all the people who modified it. The way they modified it was really, really pretty. And it came out really, really nice. And then Clue 5 was mostly this purple section here, and then this final border, which keeps wanting to fold down like this, for reasons I don't entirely understand. But, you know, this section eats up a lot of your second contrast color here, because there is just, the rows are just getting wider and wider and wider from the bottom up here. And yeah, this section, this last section here, eats up so much of your second contrast color. Like, you'll go into this section going, you know, it said on the thing that I'm going to be using the most of the second contrast color, but I still have most of the ball left. Am I doing something wrong? This section here is where most of that goes. This section here just eats it all up. I have relatively little of my second contrast color remaining. And, you know, kind of finishing out with this more simple section, I think it was a really good idea. Because it just kind of lets you relax through, especially after this section. You just kind of breeze through this last section here. And then you get the nice little border that matches the borders at the beginning. That same kind of technique, same look. And then bind off. I used the suspended bind off, which is also what the designer used for her sample, she said. I actually learned the suspended bind off for this shawl. And yeah, it's useful. I like it. And this leads me at the bind off to the other thing I want to talk about, which is the fact that I do not block my knitting. I don't. I'm kind of naughty. I have not blocked this, and I will not block it for several reasons. One, I think it looks great, just like this. You know, it has a really nice drape already, and that fold over at the edge that it wants to do, I think blocking would really work that out. But it doesn't bother me enough to actually do that, so I'll just live with it. I'm happy with it. I'm good. And that's the main reason I don't block things. I'm perfectly happy with how they come out fresh off the needles. I don't feel a need to block things. And I should also kind of do what I can to show how wide this thing is in the limited field of view. So I'll kind of do that while I talk about why I don't block. Here's one end. And I'll kind of scooch over to the other end while I talk. But for me, especially right now, I don't have a lot of open available floor space to set up blocking mats. I also don't have blocking mats. I would be using like towels and stuff to wet block or steam block, laid flat, either way. So I don't have a lot of that open floor space. The only space I really do have is in the basement, which has a lot of clutter and stuff, and is so out of sight I would likely forget about my project just lying down there in the dark. And any available flat surface outside of the basement is accessible to cats. Here's the other end. And my cats are mischievous little creatures who like to destroy anything they come in contact with, if they can. So I don't really want them having that kind of access to my finished projects. I would be very upset. So that's another reason. And I know lace does really well with being blocked and comes out really nicely and all of that. But I don't do a lot of lace knitting because I don't really like it very much. And even when I do some lace knitting, like these little eyelet sections here, there's usually not a lot of it, and the use that I get out of it will typically open them up plenty for me. I have blocked one project, and even then it wasn't aggressive at all. That was the oh, what's the name of it? The Clairvoyant Shawl from Totally Red Jess that I made last year. I did block that, spread out on towels in the basement because it is all over lace. But I didn't block it very aggressively, and I didn't really see a difference before and after blocking. So I don't really think it was worth all the trouble I went to. It came out really, really great. And it's really pretty, and I'm probably going to break it out this month for Halloween because it's a very Halloween-y shawl. But that's the only thing I've ever blocked. You know, socks I block by wearing them. Sweaters I block by wearing them. Shawls and scarves I personally feel don't really need blocking. In my opinion. For me. And I don't knock anybody for wanting to block things. It can work wonders for a project, like it would work out this fold that it wants to have. It would work that out to block it. But like I said before, it's not a big enough annoyance for me to go to all that trouble. So I'll just fold it up and take it back out when I want to wear it. And that'll do just fine for me. Also, this yarn is really, really soft and I really like it. I think that is everything. Thank you very much. Oh, I remembered one more thing. I had talked a few weeks ago about finding a tripod with a horizontal column configuration. I did find one that I like. It is not in stock, but I was able to put it, the place that I normally go to, I was able to put it in order so that they'll ship it to me when it comes back in stock. Hopefully it'll come back in stock soon. But for now, I'll keep having some fun with the camera. And that is really it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.